On April 19th, 1775, 250 years ago, a shot was heard around the world and the War for American Independence began. Burlington at that time was a precinct of Woburn, the second parish, having its own minister and fielding Militia Company 2 under Captain Walker, one of Woburn's 3 companies of Colonel David Green's 2nd Regiment of Foot. Our forefathers actively participated in several events that day, most notably when John Hancock and Samuel Adams fled here from Lexington, escaping possible capture by the King's troops. We searched our archives and found footage of our reporting on that day when over 16,000 minute and militiamen throughout New England responded to call and placed Boston under siege. This report just in. It appears that what we have been anticipating has finally happened. British regulars on the orders of General Gage are on the march toward Concord, having earlier this morning engaged with the militia at Lexington Common. Witnesses reported that approximately 5:15 shots were fired, leaving several dead and injured colonists on the common. We are working to see who fired the first shot. 8 colonists are reported dead. At this time, our understanding is that just prior to the arrival of the regulars, John Hancock, president of the Provincial Congress, and fellow member Samuel Adams, assisted by Paul Revere and William Dawes, plus several militiamen, were able to escape capture, moving east toward Woburn Precinct, where our sources tell us they may be currently at the Reverend Jones's house. Our reporter, Jesse Hopkins, is at the Jones house now. Jesse, what can you tell us?
Hi, this is Jesse, and we're here at the home of Reverend Jones, or perhaps I should say the widow Jones. Currently, John Hancock and Sam Adams are residing here. Jason Clark also returned home and brought back here Dorothy Quincy, John Hancock's fiancée, and Hancock's aunt, Lydia Hancock. When we got here, we were able to speak to Cuff Trott. Cuff is in the house. He told us that the Reverend Merritt is also in the house, but that Widow Jones is not willing to have press come into the house. Of course, we can't blame her. They're all in a very dangerous situation here. So we will remain here. We will try to find out what's happening in the house and report back to you later.
Gentlemen, please, take your seats.
Thank you. Do we have rolls, I believe?
Some
bread?
Yeah,
I
What
believe
about
that.
something
Always
to
fresh.
drink?
I think
There's
there's
quite
port.
to try. Port would be lovely.
Yes, I believe there's some port.
Thank you, Mrs. Jones.
Thank you, Mrs. Jones.
Port, Mr. Adams?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Hancock.
You know, Mr. Revere warned us late last night, and he was captured on his way to Concord, but somehow he managed to be released.
Very fortunate, yes.
Thank you, John. There was such a commotion last night, Reverend. In the middle of the night, alarms sounding all over, church bells tolling,
Yes.
militia firing volleys of muskets. It was quite confusing. I am told, though, that the British soldiers that had detained Mr. Revere along the road, once they released him, they took flight back to Menotomy.
Praise God that you are with us now, that you were able to elude capture.
Yes.
For General Gage would surely have sent you to England, where they would gladly hang you for treason.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you.
John?
Oh, Reverend, Dorothy is here.
Thank you, sir.
You must have had a trying evening, Miss Quincy, convincing Mr. Hancock to retire from Lexington in advance of the arrival of the regulars.
There is some truth in that, sir, but that was soon forgotten when I attended to the wounded this morning. Aunt Lydia, I fear, has had little sleep and is quite exhausted. She was quite agitated when we left Reverend Clark's.
I trust you are feeling better.
Oh, yes, thank you, John. I'm much composed. And I'm so glad to be here safe and sound with you, Mrs. Jones, and with you, Reverend Merritt. I am greatly relieved as well that you gentlemen avoided danger today.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes, yeah.
Finally, the salmon.
One thing that goes right.
That looks
Today.
wonderful. Wonderful.
I had my sword and I insisted on standing my ground, but there were cooler heads that prevailed. And with the arrival of Revere and Dawes, they insisted that I take my leave.
John, that was the right decision. After all, you're the president of the Continental Congress. Your leadership is needed there, not as captain of local militia. Reverend, when we left Lexington, we went to Mr. Reed's farm.
A very trustworthy man.
It seemed very nice, but we weren't there very long. It seemed that as soon as we arrived, before we'd even unpacked, suddenly British prisoners were being brought there and he had to see to their detention. So immediately John and I had to leave and we came here. But John had the wherewithal to send Revere back to Lexington to gather our belongings. There was a trunk full of very important documents that were still there. I don't know about anyone else at this table, but I, for one, am famished.
Indeed.
I have yet to break my fast today.
Here, Mr. Adams.
Something is happening. A militiaman just ran into the house.
Salmon for us.
A messenger with news, gentlemen.
My wife, I fear, is by now in eternity. But as to you, you better look after yourselves, for the enemy will soon be at your heels.
Not again.
My goodness.
I will escort you to the home of Farmer Amos Wyman. He is a good man, and he will find a place to hide you safely.
Escort these gentlemen through the pathwoods and direct them to Mr. Amos Wyman. Reverend Barrett will escort these.
Got my cloak with me at the front door.
Ladies, again.
Mrs. Jones, I will send word.
One for the road.
A Minuteman ran from the house. But wait, Cuff Trot just ran from the front of the house, and John Hancock, Sam Adams, and the Reverend Merritt are also leaving, headed out, we do believe, toward the meeting house.
The event at the home of Abigail Jones, as depicted in the reenactment, is a historical fact. The John Hancock party, escaping British capture, were escorted to her home by Minutemen and Paul Revere. They stopped at the James Reed farm before moving on to the Jones house. By the end of the day, 8 British soldiers were held captive there by James Reed. The farm was located where the Crate and Barrel is on Middlesex Turnpike. A messenger did warn of the approach of British soldiers. The line spoken in the reenactment comes from Samuel Sewell's book, History of Woburn, published in 1868. In April, the Sandy Brook would have been swollen and difficult to cross. The most convenient route for Cuff Trot to the Wyman house would have been to go around the brook through the path woods.